Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil, Eli, OK Computer, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
What is going on?
Good morning.
What's going on with your mic wide open in the middle of my intro, listening to your indicators and bing bongs?
It just turned out that way as I was getting in the car. Nobody's joining G+. What's going on?
4 people in G+. What are you talking about? Anyway, this is a great live start.
I'm saying the guys that we did invite here, that win a few times, it's nobody steady. You know what I'm trying to say?
Neil's moaning about the sporadic nature of the newbies that started to join G+ about 3 weeks ago. He's saying they're not joining enough. There's no obligation for anybody to join, Neil, at all, in any of the servers.
Oh, there's an obligation, buddy.
No, there isn't.
Well, seasons will come, and this is the season we're in. There'll be time where there's probably so many people you're annoyed, but, you know, like, you just got to enjoy the seasons we're in, you know, right now, for whatever reason, it's you and I, and that's what's up.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm infuriated with that whole Jiren thing. I listened to that. Let me tell you something, Nathan. There's no more reaching out. There's no more educating him for the better good of everybody because he's out there. Freak him. It's over with this cat.
Yeah.
I'll admit at first I was irritated. So my initial reaction was to send him a load of miserable, moany, sweary messages, which I just immediately removed from Skype, so he never got a chance to read them. But after the fact, I sat back and thought about it. I thought, is my motivation towards Jaren any different today than it was yesterday, in spite of him basically calling me a grifter? Well, no, not really. I mean, the last communication I had, which was coincidentally only a couple of days prior to him calling me a grifter on air, was to explain the affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy that he's falling victim to when he goes down to Antarctica. Now, as far as I could tell from his responses, he was grateful to understand this fallacy and explained that up until my explanation, he hadn't fully grasped what that fallacy was, and the difference between modus tollens and an affirming the consequent, presumably because he's out hearing people saying that Black Swan is affirming the consequent, or something like that. I have no idea to figure out, or didn't care to ask why he would be asking about the difference between an affirming the consequent and modus tollens. But I went to, I don't know, probably wasn't more than an hour's worth of work, digging out all the citations, formatting it, and then replying to him within a couple of different examples of each fallacy outside of the citations, and you know, with a hope that he would read it and understand the fallacy that he's currently engaged in. Now, it coincidentally is the same fallacy that the guys who got involved with Netflix fell victim to last time. It's the exact same fallacy. Now, I explained it after the fact to Bob Nodell and ended up being ostracised from what was considered the Flat Earth community. We've since renamed it the Ether community, New Earth community, whatever they call themselves, True Earthers. Well, it was heartbreaking at the time to be ostracised for explaining a fallacy, the same exact fallacy that's being explained to Jaren, and he's thanking me for it. But as I say, to then try to stay true to type and go out and call me a scammer days later, it's just like, well, that's not exactly shocking, nor does it actually have any impact. You know, nobody's come to me and gone, right, I'm unsubscribing because you're, according to Jaren, relying on your flat earth grift when he recognises the danger that might be ahead of us if he goes down to Antarctica and sees a 24-hour sun. Me wanting to, according to him, protect my flat earth grift is worth being labelled a grifter. okay, I mean, this means nothing, and I assume it means nothing to his audience who heard it when they heard it. But
It's not gonna affect your subscribers now. He's not stupid. What he's trying to do, Nathan, is stop anybody from further subscribing to you and listening. He's not an idiot. He knows who we attack, and he knows damn well what's going on. It's not personal. If you're going to talk nonsense and you can't validate something, we're going to come for you, especially if it crosses our path. So he knows damn well that we're not attacking people from our own side because we can't find any Golbers. He's not an idiot. He's a sneak.
well, either way, as I said, Neil, my primary concern is that there's no victim shifting in terms of whether or not the affirming the consequent fallacy for Antarctica is understood now. You know, I won't be vilified for not telling him in 6 months' time when people turn around and say, okay, this is now turned into an affirming the consequent fallacy and we're looking stupid for it. And I'll go, well, okay, the main protagonist, in this case, Jaron, was contacted by me in spite of him calling me a scammer, with a very concise breakdown of the fallacy that's being used and a comparison to a different logical consistency and how that is used coincidentally in the Black Swan. You know, that's what I did, regardless of him attacking me for being a claim to be grifter. I'm not trying to support a family.
Good.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is support a family with this. So when people say you're doing it for the money, yeah, I am. Yes, I would prefer to keep food on the table and a roof over my head if that's okay by you.
Yeah, but that looks good on your part. That's perfect what you did. Regardless of what he said, you're still trying to educate him in what's going on. So this looks perfect. So we just go ahead. The hell with him.
Well, that's always been the attitude anyway. We were asked in the pre-show if we watch, and I'm like, no, I don't. What I get is people trimming out clips and sending them to me. Not that I ask for them. But yeah, we're going to be critical of the, endeavours of somebody claiming science when I've also been ostracised for trying to explain science. So me as a person on the same side, and I say this because in the pre-show I'm being told I'm too harsh on my opponents. It's like, okay, these are the same people that ostracised me 7 years ago from the community because I tried to explain to them what science was. Now our opponents are taking them down for an experiment and they're all behind them. It's like, double standards much? I try and explain what science actually is and get ostracised. The opponent comes along and claims they've got an experiment and you go along with it, not recognising and affirming the consequent fallacy, and then call me a grifter. Oh, right, how history repeats itself. Now, it's just like I say, it's like a bee sting. Initially, if you've never been stung by a bee, it's a right shock. Now go talk to a beekeeper who doesn't even notice. Yeah, they still notice, but they don't react. That's how it is now. It's like, oh, okay, the bee sting's worn off. It doesn't have any effect anymore. But they can have an adverse effect on all of us if they go down to Antarctica, not recognising the fallacy that's been employed. If you do recognise the fallacy that's being employed and you carry on going down with them, you can take the mickey out of them the entire time. So at what point are we antipodal? At what point do we assume we're now upside down from where we began? When do we assume that? Because so far we're travelling in a southward direction with respect to a flat plane. We've got our sextant on board just in case we get lost. You know what I mean? You can just take the mickey out of them if you know the fallacy. If you don't know the fallacy, it's a problem. Could be a concern for flat earthers that are living off the grift of flat earth. No, we know it's flat. It's measured that way. Calling myself a flat earther has absolutely no concerns. When someone comes along and tells me I'm a grifter, oh, how original. Yeah, join the long queue of ballers that claim I'm grifting when the algorithm points everything Jaron-wise and Nathan Oakley-wise towards them. It's not like I'm losing views to Jaron and vice versa. Meanwhile, the affirming the consequent fallacy could have another Netflix-type repercussion on everyone. So regardless of my own self-deprecating appearance when it seems that I'm being a, masochist, going back to somebody who's calling me a grifter to explain a fallacy to them, I see that as net positive.
I agree. You handled it great, but it's time to move on from this cat. Nobody should even send you any more clips. That's it.
People want to let me know. And I appreciate that. I'm not suggesting people stop sending me clips. it's nice to not have to. I don't have the time. Like Jardo was saying, do you guys actually watch Witsit? No, I don't. But even if I wanted to, I don't have the time. I was in bed at 1 o'clock and up at 7 this morning, and I didn't stop the entire time. I haven't stopped this morning. Nothing ever changes. There aren't enough hours in the day. If anything, I'm a little bit too overworked at the moment doing the book. That's my own self, I've imposed that upon myself to do and incorporate others' help, so it's even more stressful. But these things need to be done. Sometimes you have to push yourself to the limits. Burning the candle at both ends isn't something I'm unfamiliar with. You have to control it very carefully, because otherwise you do genuinely burn out. But it's just...
Now, who was saying that you're too hard on people? Because I missed the whole thing this morning. I couldn't hear a thing. They're saying that you're too hard
okay, let me fill you
on
in.
your opponents?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, so Jardo wasn't saying we were too hard on people. He was saying that when you come to the subject, we would rightly point out that people are left with an empty void they want to fill with an alternative. He's saying that that alternative has to be offered by someone, and it is offered by the people we're critical of. That would be Witsit, Dave Weiss, whoever we've been critical of recently, especially with Witsit, because Jardo thinks that Quantum Eraser is overly harsh towards Witsit. He's been covering him for a week because it's a very long video and it's slow going, working his way through all of it. Me, I'll give up after 15 minutes of an hour and 40 video with Roseanne, because I feel like I've got the general sentiment of the video and I can move on the following day. Some people insist I keep covering videos again and again. Tenth was very keen to do that often. No, you've got to get through all of it. Like, well, okay. But then you can be perceived to be too hyper-focused on one individual, like Jardo's criticising QE for. But he's saying that if you come and you're looking for that alternative and you find it, and it fills you with the warm, fuzzy feeling, and the next thing you find is QE ripping that alternative view that you got a warm, fuzzy feeling for to shreds with a few expletives, then it's going to put you off. And his suggestion, I'm not have to be critical of it because you didn't back it with anything, but he suggested that 9 out of 10 people who arrive would be put off and leave. Now, statistically, from a sales perspective, the 1 in 10 rule applies anyway, which is to say that of 10 people that come to the channel, only 1 will be interested. Like if you give out 1,000 flyers, it's even worse. You might get 100 people that can actually read and will read the flyer. You know what I mean? There's a certain rule. Yeah, there's going to be 10 people that don't come and subscribe daily. That's how it is for everyone.
So Jardo secretly is a Witsit fan.
No.
I would have never suspected it.
No.
Yeah.
Why are you now attacking this person who's offered you valuable information? I hate this. Right? Someone offers their opinion, which is slightly detrimental or negative, and you attack the messenger. When I'm like, it's nice that people can actually tell us this stuff. I'm really grateful to hear it. If I didn't get to hear it, the people who don't tell you are the people who do bugger off. They just go, oh, sod this, I don't like this. And they just go. And if you were to tap them on the shoulder, why did you go? They go, leave me alone. And then just carry on walking because they've lost interest. The person who comes and goes, I feel you can do better. And there's 2 reactions. Get lost. Or, oh, really? Oh, well, that's nice that you've taken an interest in me. Pray tell.
Point of order.
Let's see how QE handles it.
Unfortunately, Jardo, you'll have to let Neil relax before you do get your point of ordering. All right, go ahead, Jardo.
Okay. Question to Neil.
I'll just ask. Go ahead.
Who was the first, sorry, repurpose the question. Who was the first person that you came across Flat Earth with online?
My brother. Oh, you mean online? Who did I come across?
Online. Online, yes.
I'm misunderstanding. Are you saying who did I first listen to on YouTube, or who did I get on speaking with?
Anything online, YouTube, chat, any other platform
Mark
online.
Sargent. I said Mark Sargent.
Okay, Mark Sargent, no problems. So why did you bring myself up as a defender of Witsit?
I was really half only kidding, but it sounded like you were like a little secretly cheering for Witsit, or a little Witsit fan. Because I think everything QE and anybody does when he's speaking this nonsense is justified and can keep smashing him if he's going to keep talking about stuff that he can't validate and lead hundreds of thousands of people astray with him. He's a fool.
Okay, that's great. But when you mention my name, first ask me before you just place out a statement about me.
John Doe, are you a secret fan of Witsit?
I love all flat earthers, Neil.
Told me to ask you first, so I did. Plus, you haven't bought me a membership in like a month, so I'm a little annoyed with you.
My God, you're privileged, aren't you? It's not thank you so
I
much
like
for all the
John Doe.
memberships.
I'm only breaking his chops.
Yeah, people come entitled really quickly when you're nice to them, Jardo. Thank you for donating memberships to Neil.
I may donate some memberships. We'll see.
There is absolutely
I gotta go on YouTube.
There's no obligation whatsoever, first and foremost, and for all the past contributions to this channel, Jardo, thank you very much. You are in no way obliged to give Neil anything, or me for that matter.
I think I got Jado mixed up with. I'm getting him mixed up. I get Jado mixed up with the guy that is the moderator in politics. Who is that?
Doja?
AJ?
Yeah, I get them two mixed up. That's who I thought I was talking about. Sorry, bro.
They're both Kiwis.
Shut up, Neil.
I'm way better looking.
Yeah,
I'm way better looking.
you guys seen the Britannica article I posted?
I could do. Do you want to tell us why?
Yeah, why not? Now where did I get this from? Oh no, my boy Gregory actually sent me this, and so it's just titled "Flat Earth," written by L. Subal, fact checked by the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica Article History, whoever they are. And yeah, I mean, I don't. You want me to read like the first like title summary or whatever you call this first paragraph?
I mean, as you're going to be discussing it, I'll read it so that you can discuss it. Flat Earth, the perception that Earth exists as a flat disc, either circular or square-shaped. This view persisted in the ancient world until empirical observations revealed that Earth's shape was spherical or ellipsoid. In modern times, however, the notion of a flat Earth has been revived and promoted on social media despite scientific evidence to the contrary.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's like super annoying. Look, and this came across my desk by Gregory. He says the scientists are anxious and agitated. They're attempting their own counter-reformation, just as the Romanists attempted to do during the Reformation in West Europe in the 16th century. And he cited something from the paper, and this is what it is. He says, scientists and researchers who study this growing movement have found that its appeal is rooted in 4 trends. Now, this is why I brought it up, because if you're listening to Dave Weiss or Jaron or any of these, or Witsit debate even.
Plug your ears, Jardo, plug your ears.
Like, you could read this article and it will jive with you, because you read the article and then you consider what you've seen from Dave or any of these people, and you won't have anything to go off to say, no, that's not true. They're not like that. You know, the only people that would look at this and go, oh, this is utter trash, are the people that listen to us, because all 4 of these points that they're about to bring up have nothing to do with what we talk about every day. Okay, let me read the rest of this. Scientists and researchers who study this growing movement have found that its appeal is rooted in four trends: the public's mistrust of official scientific sources, the perpetuation of conspiracy theories, loyalty to the groups and community they identify with, and the use of social media to spread misinformation. Flat Earth ideas have gained a large enough audience worldwide to alarm some scientists who have launched their own social media campaigns to debunk flat Earth models promoted online. Other researchers are working to overcome these perceptions by combining the teachings of rigorous evidence based science with the restoration of public trust in scientific institutions attained by taking the questions of flat Earth adherence seriously and refraining from taking aloof and dismissive positions. Good. I hope you go on the offensive and make the mistakes that I know you're gonna make.
Go on then, Eli. Break that down for us.
So obviously, when you read the four trends, the public's mistrust, uh, the perpetuation of conspiracy theories, loyalty to the groups and community they identify with, and the use of social media to spread misinformation. Flat Earth Dave literally hits all four prongs.
Right.
Literally. Like, if these guys wanted to do a hit piece on Flat Earth, right after they do this affirming the consequent trip to Antarctica trip would be the perfect time to do it. So, for whatever reason, these people that we keep saying seem like what's the word? What's the word you used yesterday? Charlatans? Yeah. It just seems like they're giving the layup for the people that are trying to attack and quell this rise in flat Earth, which is about the only thing in this article that is true. Flat Earth is definitely getting more and more ground. And I want them to take us serious because that means they're going to get the snot box rocked out of them.
Right on. Shout out to Jardo for gifting memberships.
Did he gift everyone but Neil?
I don't think he has any option in terms of who gets gifted the memberships. I think I assume, I'm guessing, that they base it on view time. In other words, if you're a non-member and you're constantly watching the show, you're more likely to get a free membership. Adam Meakin got a free membership.
What's
Thank
up,
you very much
Chocolate?
for the free memberships, Jardo. Really appreciate the support. Please share the show, by the way. 95 people watching, edging ever closer to 100 people watching, which is nice. Yeah, smash that share button if you've not done so already. We are going to cover a video. We'll have a few more minutes of chit chat before we do. But in the meantime, if you haven't hit the share button already, please do so.
And by the way, Neil was the first off the rank to get a membership.
Oh, was he? Oh, yes, he was. Neil was gifted a membership by Jardo. What'd you say, Neil? Oh, he's gone. The cheek of it.
I want to add a little bit to what you were talking about before.
You're a bit
Two of
your
those
mic's covered.
points.
Your mic's covered with something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just about.
All right. Yeah, two of those points. One, the public mistrust of quote unquote science, and the whole what was the other one? Use of social media to spread misinformation, quote unquote. On that one, that's what they're doing. Everybody's using social media to spread whatever it is, misinformation, disinformation, actual information. That's just a thing that people are doing because social media is a thing now. So I don't even see how that's a point.
It's not. It's a
really,
blanket statement like saying they're using cars.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I hear with that. The other one that I think is a little bit more appropriate is the public mistrust of science, quote unquote, because that's kind of their fault. And in a lot of ways, they're panicking about that. And to me, it's kind of funny that they're panicking about that because, like I said, it's mostly their fault. They come out, they give people all types of nonsense that we're supposed to follow, and they tell us just trust it, trust the science, listen to us, don't do your own research, just listen to daddy and mommy as we tell you what to do in your life, and that's their fault. And that's coming with it as far as the medical field, and yes, it's falling apart in the uh, cosmology field as well, right?
Right.
So they have no one else to blame but themselves, right? When you got people like Neil smoking the grass, running around wanting to talk about men and women or a spectrum, how do you expect people to feel about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they're not helping with their mitigation language either, are they? When they say people are mistrusting science, well, at some level, that's going to sit uncomfortably with people because they appreciate the reason they've been hearing the word science is because it means that the thing that's being claimed has been proven to some extent in their mind. That's why the word's being used. So when you mitigate because people stop trusting the science, that might be the matter of fact that you discuss in your own circles. But when you put that out into the realm of the public, people need to start trusting the science. Oh, well, hold on. I don't think this was based on trust. I thought it was based on empiricism, right? In the intro to that article, that's one of the words they use. So right at the start, in the intro, it's talking about empiricism somewhere. Just have a find of it. Give me a second. I'm on the wrong paragraph. Might help if I went all the way to the top. Here we go. Scientific evidence to the contrary. That was one of them. And here we go. This view persisted in the ancient world until empirical observations. Yeah. So the empiricism that's being suggested when the word science is imposed on a paragraph that's talking nonsense, in this case, about flat Earth strawmanning us, basically. Well, they're suggesting that the contrapositive claim of flat Earth is proven by empiricism and scientific evidence. So you go, okay, well, that's the standard then. That's proof. Well, yeah, if you've gone through the scientific method, it's proof. But the people who've been using these words haven't been through the scientific method. You can't prove the shape of Earth with science. It's a category error. But they're using that word because they've overused it to claim they've proved things. And people are starting to catch them out. Now, like with Candy Sewing, we'd prefer they didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater when they say science has lied to me. No, men have lied to you. Science is a method. But they claimed the words were applicable to their claim of nonsense when they used the words science or experiment or empiricism. All words tied to the empirical method of science, but not to their claims. So that's men lying, not science lying. Science isn't an entity. You've been duped into believing that the words of men in institutions is science. So therefore science has lied to us. It isn't. That isn't science. Science is a method. A method that offers an empirical outcome. Something we've been banging the drum of, and, as I said in the start of this live show, been ostracised from the quote-unquote flat earth community for disseminating to our counterparts. So as much as I will take any criticism of how harsh we are with our counterparts, meanwhile, the softly, let's explain how science works so you can understand that science hasn't got lips to lie to anybody with. That's a reification fallacy. It's a method. How can a method lie to you? It doesn't. Men do. Men who claim to have used that method when they haven't. Anyway, any other comment on that?
And hence the panicking by people who want to talk in negative of quote unquote science, like
No swearing.
Candace Owens, Terrence Howard, even the Terrence Howard thing has panicked mainstream science and saying, "Oh, we have to shut this down," right? What the hell? What happened to the thing where, well, science is for everyone? Anybody can do science. Anybody can practice this method and establish cause and effect. Anybody can do that. All of a sudden, people can't do that if what they're doing is outside of the normal scope. There was a video we watched the other day when I think you went off with Pierce Morgan, who had a whole thing about science with Eric Weinstein in response to the Terrence Howard interview. And it was pretty funny because you could see that Pierce and another guest that was on, another two guests that were on, were kind of in panic mode. Like, this must be shut down, right? You can't talk outside of the realm of the mainstream science. And to me, it just tickles me pink. Because they have no one else to blame but themselves.
They've hijacked the meaning of science and imposed it on what the men in institutions say. And when someone comes along and either uses the same magic trick, which is to say, well, what I've conjured in this Just So story is actually science. Check out my really cool 3D modelling software. This is science, ladies and gentlemen. People swoon, go, wow, it's amazing. Globe Homework, says Unitox Femu. Elevation profile of your country. Yeah, we were doing that about 8 years ago, Unitox Femu. We were doing it in Google Plus or whatever it's called. What's the Google Earth software? Google Earth Pro, I think it's called. You can draw out an elevation profile for the whole world and show that it's all with respect to a flat plane. That's how elevation profiles are measured and described in that software. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, that was like 6 years ago or something like that, right?
Yeah, we're doing it in the Isle of Man discussion. But we didn't realise it. Again, it was another idiotic moment when we were whistling straight past it. So we were getting the elevation profile, that is to say measuring Earth flat and measuring how high or low mountains and valleys were with respect to a flat reference plane, and then plumbing those flat Earth measurements into the Earth curve calculator to see how much a differential from that flat plane of reference and eye level would obscure things in the distance and be relabeled as Earth curve. So we were using the elevation profile, not going, check it out, Earth's measured flat. We were going, check it out, if we take these flat Earth measurements and put them into a globe calculator, we can show how it doesn't quite match with the globe calculations they were expecting. After we measure Earth flat and use flat Earth elevation angles and flat Earth depression angles and flat Earth surface levels and flat Earth eye levels, we can show how this globe maths doesn't work. That's what we were doing years ago because we were idiots.
That's crazy.
And that's where Tim Osman wants you back.
Oh, that's where Tim
That's
Osman wanted us then, and they all really enjoyed coming here then. Because then they could have us beg the question of a globe after using quite a few flat Earth measurements. They liked it then. Now we say, what do you mean height above sea level? You'll have to have a height above sea level for that. You can't be putting that through a curve calculator because you haven't got a sea level anymore in Earth curve. It's a sea curve. So you're not going to use your sea level measurements of altitudes to say how much they should or shouldn't be there when you ignore perspective with a feet or meters value that doesn't change with distance. No, thank you, sir. You'll need a flat Earth for your initial measurements, won't you? Oh, we're not talking about the ground. We would be talking about the ground if it was curving away after we measured it flat. But now we're just focusing on the first bit, the flat Earth measurement bit. Well, that's not the ground, is what they would say to us today, if they had any balls in pen, which they don't.
I had this with my son yesterday. It was very frustrating. He started with quantum entanglement, right? Then I explained to him clearly how if you take 3 circles of equal altitude, the amount of flat ocean that there is, he agrees to all of that, and then he turns around and starts talking about the southern stars. I don't get it. If he's deliberately doing this to me, it frustrates me.
Well, the Southern Stars argument's the same exact affirming the consequent fallacy that must be employed as is being utilised for the Antarctic claim. That is to say, you affirm the consequent, which, when you put it into fallacious form, the conclusion doesn't follow the prerequisite necessarily. So if we are on a sphere, begging the question, with a journey that will result in antipodal positioning, then we will see 24-hour sun rotation in Antarctica. We do see 24 hours of sun in Antarctica, therefore begging the question antipodal positioning? Well, no. It's the same exact fallacy. If I assume that the stars rotate in, let's say they make the next mistake, opposite directions in the south, then that affirms my antipodal positioning assumption when I demonstrate that north and south are antipodal from one another. So you go, okay, what's south, Neil? Well, that direction on a compass with respect to a flat plane. So you travel south and you see different stars. Okay, yeah. So you're going to describe the angles to the stars and their relative positions above the ground moving with respect to the ground, like you'd use in mapping. Okay? How does that have anything to do with being dangling off the bottom of a sphere? When they can't justify it... I'm nearly done. Nearly done.
Oh, sorry.
When they can't justify it, you demonstrate why they have that antipodal assumption. It's come from the celestial sphere model. Did you ever hear Brian recently moan about us calling the celestial sphere the celestial sphere? It's an extra step that we use because it's frequently referenced by globe believers because they put a projected sphere in the middle of it. And us on a flat plane in hell, projecting through it with angles off that flat plane in hell, extended out to the infinite distances to the stars when measured with a protractor and put into a view that's hemispherical for the north. Polar-eccentric, latitude-based, measurement-based, angle, flat earth-based, hemispherical view, like a protractor on a plane. But you can do the same with the south. But once you've done that, you can then produce two flat planes, one stacked underneath the other, that's antipodal, with a dome of view from two flat planes, one north-centric, the other south-centric. Both are the same plane. You've travelled south, a flat earth direction with respect to a plane, and then looked up. Up was always up on the journey, it was always the ground below you as you went. There is no point that you get any inference of moving around a sphere-shaped inference that came from those measurements. The extrapolation to suggest that you've moved antipodal comes from flat earth measurements in the first place. So you're telling me that if I measure this positional system and project it onto a sphere, that means that when I traverse the ground flat, I'm actually traversing it curved? No, it doesn't. That's a mathematical extrapolation from the flat earth measurements, and we're using them to travel. There is no antipodal south. But when you create a model that's the celestial star view, your perspective view from a plane, and put one under the other, you can then start projecting globe positions from those two, north and south, flat planes, to create the globe that you'd be in to have it functionally work with the ground you're measuring. Now, the fact that one of them's underneath the other to offer you up this spherical view does not mean that you reach an edge and go underneath it. It's a model. It's a way of projecting both north and south in one place. You can't do that. You can't be north and south at the same time. You can't present them as two models slapped underneath each other antipodal. You certainly can't then project out points, call them a globe and say you're standing on it, to say that when I move south, I'm actually moving not with respect to the plane I'm measuring or travelling with respect to in a direction that could only be flat. No, I'm travelling over a curve. Utterly stupid. The only curve involved is the curve of the perspective view that you measure through a protractor of the stars. That's where the view gets projected in the celestial sphere. Brian's objection, call it a hemisphere, because that's what it actually is. That's all you ever get in actual reality. You don't get a view of the north hemispherical perspective view of the stars, that's some at the horizon, some above your head and some behind you on the horizon, all described through a protractor-based view, 0 to 180. You don't get that and a view of the south stars at the same time. Utterly absurd. But both can be projected from the same single hell-based point inside a globe that's projected out, off two flat planes. You're never on that point. You never get that view. It's a distorted idea of reality that you will never, ever, ever get to experience. You can only create in a model and then extrapolate a globe to tell you that you've walked around it when you travel south. It's just stupid. Unpacking this stuff has taken 10 years of exploratory information being gathered up by people like me and people around me so that we can summarize it in a 3-minute segment like we've just done. But that assumption of antipodal positioning is the basis of the current Antarctic claim. You need to assume that you arrive antipodal when you look up. Now, up is still up when you left and up is still up when you get there. The ground is still beneath your feet when you travel, and you're traveling in directions that are only with respect to a flat plane on maps that have been made from flat planes with angles to stars off flat planes. So, but for the fact that they assume antipodal positioning, this means nothing. Nothing at all. But so long as you let them assume I'm antipodal, I'm upside down when I look at the South Star. Well, are you? Where did you get that idea? Well, I know, I've just told you. It's how the models were made. From flat Earth measurements.
Nearly done. Holy shoot. Yeah, I broke that all down from 2. I used a protractor, and my other son said, there's stars under our feet. And my oldest son Jacob was like, don't say that. I said, he said it. Listen to how silly that sounds. You think there's stars under your feet. I told him, I said, you're putting yourself on a ball. You're trying to bring me on the ball. That's not how it goes. The stars are always, you have to look up. And I said, by the way, there's no up on a globe. Frustrating, though.
If you're going to go that route, just don't stop there. I mean, there's not just stars, there's people, oceans, things, all existing antipodal, thousands of miles underneath your feet. Let's go all the way with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said too.
I do that, and people give me that look.
Yeah, the dumb look. Then he says to me, when I told him about silly that sounds, and you also think that there's soil in the sky. I said, who's the crazy one here? And it bothers me because I know he understands this. I put it on a piece of paper. I was showing him. And I'm saying, all of this is ocean, Jacob, and it's all flat. It's navigated flat. Everything you're telling me, all the data that you're talking about, it's all from a flat plane.
He'll get there, Neil, don't worry. Now, we've actually run over a little bit of the chit-chat time by about 10 minutes, but nevertheless, we do have a video to cover by Autodidactic, so I'll share a link to this particular videographer in the vain hope that were we to make a response, he would do the same for us and put a link to Flat Earth Debate or Nathan Oakley 1980. So if you are in the live stream chat right now, there's the link. Click on it and let this videographer know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and leave him a nice comment. Don't swear. Be polite. You might enjoy his content, so check him out. But yeah, offer him some YouTube algorithmic love. Like I say, the idea being that he'd offer the same if he was to do a response to us critiquing whatever it is we've got to critique on this particular video. I have no idea what it is. It's been offered up by one of the panel, who's not actually here today. Liam. So yeah, we'll see how we get on with this video. But in the meantime, please do click on the link, offer some YouTube algorithmic love, let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So I am familiar with the channel. I did actually go on this channel about 4 years ago, maybe a bit less. I don't know, there or thereabouts. And I couldn't get a word in. So it was one where I went on a panel that they were inviting people from their audience to join. I was reasonably interested. I can't remember what the discussion was about, but it was enough to intrigue me and get me on the panel. Yeah, I couldn't get a word in. So other than that, I've had no experience with this particular channel, so I don't really know what they do. But we'll check it out. So hopefully that's given enough people in the audience some time to actually click on that link as it's whizzing its way by, and let the videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Anybody got any comment on it before I do click play? Check the sound and such.
Hello and welcome. Campbell here, Autodidactic. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And we have Luke from Ancient Historia and Will from The Final Experiment. And hello,
I am currently a pastor of a small church in Colorado in the United States. And I was introduced to Flat Earth almost 3 years ago, a little over 2.5 years ago. And I took a deep dive into the Flat Earth rabbit hole, and I started watching all of the videos and the debates and reading the memes, and just found it very fascinating. And I like to come up with big ideas. So I was wondering if I could come up with an experiment.
So there's your first problem, Will. That'd be to say that an experiment would be the assertion of cause and effect reasoning based on a hypothesis after observing natural phenomena. Step 1. Observe natural phenomena. See something happening in nature and ask yourself, why is that happening? Step 2. Formulate a hypothesis, half of which you've already got because the dependent variable is the effect you are studying. The other half of the hypothesis being the independent variable, supposition of causal influencer. So you've got your suppositional statement of cause and effect. If A, suppositional influencer, then B, naturally occurring phenomena. That's a hypothesis. An experiment, end quote, Will Duffy, doesn't know what science is the actualization of the hypothesis. What you are doing is not that.
That we could do to settle the flat Earth versus globe debate once and for all.
It's not a debate. Earth is measured flat. The namesake of this show applies because people like you don't know that yet. And only because you don't know that yet, not because it's an actual debate. It's not up for debate. Earth is measured flat.
And so I came up with the final experiment.
Not an experiment. An affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If I assume antipodal positioning on a globe, then I'll observe 24-hour sun in Antarctica. I do, supposedly, observe 24 hours sun in Antarctica. Therefore, my antipodal assumption of a globe is true. No, it's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. Definitely not an experiment. A logical fallacy.
And the final experiment is pretty simple.
Go ahead. He's off
sorry.
mute, causing audio chaos, or they want to say something. Go ahead, Chocolate.
Okay, so just to clear it up in my head, this guy from his little story just now, he got into flat Earth, watched all the videos, did all that, went down the rabbit hole, and decided to come up with an experiment in quotes. And his experiment is something that if it was something that existed, would just exist and would be evidenced already by the globe side, meaning 24-hour sun in Antarctica. And that hasn't been evidenced yet, but this guy says he's going to be that guy who's going to do that when that would have been done already in 2024. This is what we're hearing now. I'm just trying to get this straight in my head.
Yes, there's an ambiguity about whether or not there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. First-hand testimony says there isn't. Forged, edited videos says there is. Who cares? There is no ambiguity about the northern 24-hour sun. So let's use the northern 24-hour sun to prove something. Go on, whoever that was.
Sorry, I've opened my mic by mistake, sorry.
That's okay. Well, there's no ambiguity about a northern 24-hour sun. So why aren't we using the northern 24-hour sun to affirm that we have a global antipodal assumption? Oh, because we'd need to travel to the south and assume that we're antipodal and then see a 24-hour sun to affirm the consequent. Because without the affirming the consequent, you just use the northern sun to do the same thing. There's no ambiguity about it. But they're turning the ambiguity about whether or not there is one in Antarctica into a proof of a globe. No, you only get that if you assume antipodal positioning. That's it. Where did the antipodal assumption come from? Well, from mapping and building up a globe from flat Earth measurements of angles to the stars. Specifically Polaris, if you look at latitude, stretched around a globe, then inferred to be getting smaller as it goes down towards Antarctica, causing all sorts of map distortions. Now, they're not my maps, I'm not taking any credit for them, I'm just stating the facts of the matter in terms of how distorted the maps are. But meanwhile, you can project those distorted maps through global positions, and then infer that you are on that globe that's been derived from those original flat Earth measurements, and suggest that the projected image of a globe is what you're actually traversing when you go south, justifying your antipodal assumption. No, your antipodal assumption is derived from flat Earth measurements, and it's affirming the consequent in terms of its logical form. Ergo, this isn't science, it isn't an experiment, and even if you observe a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, it won't affirm the consequent. In terms of your fallacy, it still stands true before you do anything. See it, don't see it, doesn't make any difference. to the fallacious reasoning and assumption of antipodal positioning. Hopefully I've made that absolutely clear. We've covered this many times. A shout out to Jaron, by the way. He was recently educated by me in this exact fallacy. So I proactively contacted Jaron a couple of days before he came out as calling me a grifter. But, you know, such is life. Jaron's tune very rarely changes. Nevertheless, I saw it as incredibly important that Jaron understood this fallacy, given that he's played into the hands of the opponent and is willing to affirm the consequent alongside them, and furthermore sees that this fallacious reasoning is actually an issue that we should be concerned about. And justification for calling me a grifter when I protect my, flat earth grift? No, it's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. Thank you for responding to me, Jaron. It was good to know that you now understand this fallacy as I broke it down for you. I wonder if you'll let your audience know that you understand the fallacious reasoning behind this claim to be experiment. Coincidentally, something that you've ostracized me from your so-called true Earth community, formerly Flat Earth, for trying to highlight also. Notice you're not ostracizing this man, you're going along with him in spite of his use of the word experiment. So science has lied to us, and Nathan says science is empirical, therefore he's a scammer. Meanwhile, this globe-believing numpty says he's got an experiment. I'll go with him to affirm the consequent. Well, nobody will be in any doubt that you absolutely, without question, have confirmed that you understand this fallacy. Because I've explained it and broke it down with examples, and you've confirmed that you understand it now. So Jaron knows this is a fallacy. He knows it's not an experiment. He's confirmed and had explained to him in words of one syllable. So it's very, very easy to comprehend. I've done that in spite of him being my adversary and claiming I'm a grifter as I attempt to feed my bleeding family by doing this. Nevertheless, he knows. Let there be no doubt, Jaron absolutely, unequivocally knows this is an affirming the consequent fallacy because he's had it explained to him. My reward was being called a grifter.
We go to Antarctica and we see whether or not there is a 24-hour sun. One of the things I noticed in watching all of the Flat Earth content...
So because? That will prove what and how? Well, maybe we'll find out from the Flat Earth videos he's been watching. Let's see.
Is the Flat Earthers stated that there cannot be a 24-hour sun in...
Sorry, is this a quote? There cannot be a 24-hour sun. Who said that? We're going to get any quote? We're going to get the video link? Who said this?
Antarctica on the Flat Earth model, and the globe side was saying...
Sorry, on the Flat Earth model, which model? Whose model? Let us see this model. Anybody here claim a model that's got a impossible 24-hour Antarctic sun on it? Hands up, who claimed it? There's lots of Flat Earthers in here. Take ownership. Who did this? Who did this? Who did this? He's just said Flat Earthers have got a model that doesn't allow for a 24-hour sun. Whose model is this? Why is no one taking ownership? Why is nobody coming off mute? What's going on? Oh, could it be that this is a straw man? That he's made this up? That it's not in quotes? That he hasn't got an example of somebody saying this? Could that be the case? I thought he was a pastor.
There is a 24-hour sun, and I thought, okay, this might be the easiest way to get both sides to agree on something and to work together and collaborate.
Are you saying both sides, like this suddenly now includes me? Who the hell do you think you are? I directly asked you a question about what your independent and dependent variable for your experiment was. You didn't answer me. Now you're out there telling people that both sides are going to agree on something. No, mate, the only thing we will agree on is that you're affirming the consequent. You're assuming antipodal positioning and that you don't know what science is. As demonstrated by your lack of response when asked for the variables that you're not using. What a bullshitter. You think you're a man of God? No, my friend, no.
To settle the debate. So that's the plan in a nutshell, and we can go into it.
So you didn't explain how this proves anything. That's the plan. We go and see if there's 24 hours of sun. Because... offered with this logical consistency argument that... So you're not going to get any of that. It's just we're going to go and see if it's there. Because flat earthers say it can't be. Even if that was actually the standard. That doesn't prove a damn thing. Go on, whoever's off mute.
He said it before. It's because that's the one thing that he sees that flat earthers and globers can agree on. That if it was flat, that there shouldn't be a 24-hour sun.
Who said that? I just asked a whole panel full of flat earthers if anybody said that. Nobody took ownership. I don't think that I'm amongst weasels. I'll ask again. Who claimed there's a model that this wouldn't work on? Who said that? That's just garbage made up by a man of God, apparently.
Much deeper and answer anybody's questions and have a good time.
He didn't answer my question. He came to my comments, asked me a question, I answered, and then responded by asking you what your independent and dependent variable were in the hypothesis to be actualized in the, quote, experiment. You didn't give me that. I mean, I had a load of flat earth, anti-flat earth trolls come and troll me and not give me the answer also. Some of them attempted to give an answer on your behalf, but you certainly did not. It's because there aren't any. Yeah? This isn't an experiment. You haven't even laid down a logical consistency for it. You haven't even explained how it proves anything.
Awesome. So first things first, I know obviously we've talked about this before, but what was the thing that pushed you over the edge to say, right, I'm going to actually go to Antarctica?
Yeah. So, I was looking for something that, because again, lots of experiments happen. The globe.
Right, lots of experiments happen. Do they? Name 3. We'll see if they've got independent and dependent variables too, shall we? No, just another baseless assertion to lend credence to his garbage.
Both side does experiments. The flat earthers don't accept it. Flat earthers do experiments.
Right, it's not about acceptance when it comes to experimentation. It's got an empirical format attached to it. The outcome would violate the law of non-contradiction if it had any room to disagree about it. The logical consistency of the scientific method offers an alternative and a null hypothesis outcome. The null is the zero difference result. The alternative is the desired outcome. Your supposition of cause proves to be true when you vary it and cause the effect you're studying. That's a alternative hypothesis confirmation. Alongside the alternative is the null. So where in the alternative you have A will cause B, the null, zero difference result, is A will not cause B. Now, only one of those two outcomes are possible upon varying A. Either A will cause B, or A will not cause B. Now, the empiricism is offered because to have A cause B and not cause B is a violation of the law of non-contradiction. Only one can be true. It can either cause it or not cause it. Only one is possible. You can't cause and not cause it at the same time. That's absurd and a violation of the law of non-contradiction. Ergo, built into the method is a way of validating a suppositional statement empirically. You vary it, it causes it. Tick. Suppositional statement validated. You vary it, it doesn't cause it. Tick. You validate your null statement. You prove that statement. Only one can be and will be proven. So if it's up for argument, if it's up for debate, it's not science. There's no arguing with an empirical outcome. Oh, these flat earthers do an experiment and the globers won't accept it. These globers do an experiment and the flat earthers won't accept it. None of them are experiments. If they were, there'd be no arguing about it. But you're not doing experiments, are you? You're going and having a look at something. That's not an experiment. At best, you've got a natural phenomena yet to be observed. So if you get down there and go, look, the sun's above the horizon all 24 hours. Yeah, there's a phenomena for you. Now you need to put it through a method to establish what caused it. Oh no, it's the antipodal positioning assumption and heliocentric motion assumption that caused it. Why? Well, because I say that I travelled south and assumed I'm antipodal. Obviously, we all agree on this experiment. This is idiocy. Very expensive idiocy. I hope it cost you a fortune. I hope your stupidity cost you a fortune. While little old me sits in the warmth of my lounge, pointing out how stupid this all is.
The globe side doesn't accept it. And so I was looking for something where both sides are like, yeah, we agree that this is definitive.
Did you ask us? No, you're just making this up. But what? You must be trusted because you're a pastor. You opened with it.
But then it was also because it was possible, right? So, for example, going to space is not really possible. On the flat Earth side, it's not possible because space isn't real. And on the globe side, it's not possible because you'd need millions or billions of dollars to do that.
No, it's not possible on both sides. The globe doesn't have any less of a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. The flat earthers don't claim a sky vacuum. So what are you babbling about? There's only one side to that discussion when there's a space claim. It's not ours. There's not the flat earth position is X about space. Who the hell is claiming space from the flat earth side? You claim space. It fails because it's a second law of thermodynamics violation. Gas fills space. The sky vacuum, where these rockets are claimed to be going in journeys to soil in the sky, isn't real. It's a violation of a law of nature. If we're breathing high pressure gas, it must be under pressure. It can't just be next to a vacuum, 10 to the minus 17 torr, not dispersing into it. That's your positive claim and the debunking of it. I don't have anything to say about the sky. We measure angles to lights in it. I can use that to prove flat Earth is being measured. It doesn't mean I have to make any claims about what you say is a sky vacuum. We just debunk it with entropic law.
And so just the fact that we could take a plane to Antarctica made it possible. And within reason financially, as I will be paying for a flat earther and a globe earther to go, I'll be covering all of those costs.
Why? It's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy with an antipodal assumption. It's not an experiment. It has no independent and dependent variable, and you're yet to observe the phenomena if you're going to claim it. If you claim you get down there and see a 24-hour sun, I'll tick step 1 in the scientific method. Observed phenomena. 24-hour sun. Well, that's an unusual occurrence. I wonder what caused that. We'd have to formulate a hypothesis and naturalise it in the form of an experiment. What's that? The experiment was just going down and seeing it? What a clown. But you're going to, at great expense, go down and see if there is or is not a phenomena to study. Well, good luck in seeing if there's a phenomena to study. But once you've got that, you'll need to go through the rest of the steps. You don't just call the observation of a phenomena, yet to be even observed, an experiment. But you're a clown and a charlatan.
Campbell, you're muted.
Sorry, there was a bit of noise in the background. Wow, cool. So, I mean, I guess most of the people watching will understand, but with the flat Earth model, the sun...
Oh, so he's the one claiming the model, is he? Which flat Earth model would that be, dude? Can't see his name. Is it Campbell? So you're claiming a model. Sorry, whose guru is this? Anybody adhere to the Campbell flat Earth model? Raise your hands now. It seems like you're taking ownership of an entire community there, Campbell, with a model that nobody's subscribed to. Literally nobody here has subscribed to the model. Whatever it is you present, you're instantly misrepresenting us, my friend. Yeah? This isn't going to go well, is it, for Campbell?
Goes from the tropics across the equator, like from the Cancer to the equator to Capricorn. And so that means that you can get a 24-hour sun at the North Pole, but at the south end, because it's doing its biggest lap at 24 hours.
Our biggest lap? We take elevation angle measurements to give us measurements of time with respect to the sun, and we take positional data with respect to Polaris in the north and Sigma Octantis in the south. Okay, so what are you talking about? Kepler's analemma? What's he babbling about? He's talking about a circuit. It sounds very much like the David Weiss model that's on top of a globe projection. He's saying that the David Weiss model doesn't work. Is that what he's talking about? Okay. So ultimately, what this actually debunks is David Weiss and his app. Am I wrong? Campbell, you're under the impression that this debunks something that we hold true to because you've suggested that our model as you universally stereotype an entire community, won't work with a sun-centric rotating sun above a azimuthal equidistant projection. That's garbage. That's not our claim. Dave Weiss's claim. Can you start ascribing this correctly to the idiots that actually believe in this crap that they lie about and punt with no verification for? I mean, we're talking about actual mapping, actual positional data, actual use of measurements to stars. You are holding up some globe projection with Dave's sun moving around it and pretending that this journey is going to debunk an entire community. This is an outrage. It's nobody else outraged by this. How am I doing, Jardo? Is he around? He's gone.
Our sun's basically impossible. So I guess that's the basis of your experiment.
No, it's not an experiment. Here's another man that doesn't know what an experiment is because he's not calling him out. You know, maybe you want to look up the definition of experiment, mate, because that isn't it. Looking and seeing isn't an experiment. Observing natural phenomena, maybe you can tick that on the list if he sees it. Step 1. Step 1, observe natural phenomena, is not step 4, experiment.
So this hasn't been done before. I think I've seen a couple of videos, but they're just sort of showing, because there's cameras, isn't there, down in Antarctica?
Yeah, so that's part of the controversy here, is that there are...
Well, if there's cameras down there, have we not got phones? Have we not got... Correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen people posting TikTok videos from Antarctica recently. New videos talking about their experiences like Robert Shortman talked about them with me, but just with easier access to data and all the rest of the things that we are now privileged with. But they're uploading TikTok videos from Antarctica. So if they've got cameras down there, just get on the blower! Just say, yeah, just go out all the time like I did. I did it really easily for the North. I didn't even need to contact anybody. I just started running a hangout and people joined. There you go, here's the sun up above the horizon all day long in the North. No worries, it was really easy to obtain, thanks to the absolutely amazing internet. But what we need to take a really long journey at great expense to affirm the consequent? Nah, just get it tomorrow if they've got cameras down there now. They've got internet connection, right? You telling me the internet gets turned off at midnight? Just get it tomorrow. Right, they're already down there. I know it's not the Antarctic summer, but you get my general idea.
Are videos, supposed videos of a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, but the Flat Earth side has carefully looked at those and found edits and evidence of doctoring. And then there's other like surveillance type footage.
So on the one hand, edited videos. Me, I can get a northern 24-hour sun on a hangout at a drop of a hat with very little promotion on a tiny little channel without any prompting. People have tuned in to show me that there's a 24-hour sun in the North on a mobile phone without any difficulty whatsoever. Yet in the South, we've got edited videos. Why would that be necessary? Trying to prevent you from observing this phenomena, are they? Oh, my bad. It's a prevention of you doing an experiment in your own stupid mind.
In Antarctica, which is missing many hours a day when you follow the shadows. And so again, that just makes this all the more exciting. You've got the globe side thinks they have evidence that there's a 24-hour sun. You got the Flat Earth side pointing out issues with the videos, missing hours. And so it's like, okay, let's just go look for ourselves. Let's go figure this out.
Because you want to just carry on to explain how this is going to prove something? Because the moment you do, I'll point out the consistency of your logic and how fallacious it is by pointing out the affirming the consequent fallacy. I mean, maybe you won't put it into the full formal logical fallacy of affirming the consequent. Maybe you'll just beg the question. Well, we're going to the Southern Hemisphere. Well, so you're just begging the question. Straight up begging the question that we're on a globe already. You've already decided that it's a globe, therefore you've already assumed the outcome. It's either straight up begging the question, or if they've got a little bit more about them, they might just manage to formulate it into an affirming the consequent. But antipodal positioning is the ultimate begging the question fallacy in this instance. I assume when we're south, we're on the bottom of a ball.
And so you basically just need to, make a 24-hour recording with a timestamp, and that's the proof, yeah?
Yeah.
So that's the proof that there's a 24-hour sun? Was your hesitance there, Campbell, because you didn't quite figure out how it's going to prove anything? Because that's the proof. of a 24-hour sun that may or may not be there. Yeah, it is. It may or may not be there. What then? Do we then assume that we're on the bottom of a ball, antipodal from where we began in the north, and therefore it proves that the assumption of an antipodal positioning system that we've actually used on a ball is true because we assumed it all about ourselves before we did anything? Is that what we'll do? Is that the proof? Doesn't prove anything. Unless you assume antipodal positioning, then it's an affirming the consequent fallacy. I mean, that doesn't prove anything either, but no one's actually stated it yet. Just got people like Campbell going, so that's the proof? Yeah, it could be proof that there's a 24-hour sun and that's it.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be easier. We're definitely gonna do recordings, but it's gonna be easier because here's why. When we land, the sun will probably be in the sky, and then we're just gonna sit there and see what happens. So on the flat Earth model, the sun should set.
So which model would that be? Would that be the Dave Weiss model that is actually being attacked here? The antipodal positioning system that is derived from celestial spheres will be ignored because obviously that's going to work with respect to the angle measurements off a plane to the sun. So we'll ignore that and just have the false dichotomy of Dave Weiss's shitty model. Sorry, I'm trying not to swear.
Wait a second. He said when they arrive, the sun will probably be in the sky? Oh, really? I was thinking it was going to be on the floor.
Either way, no one's explaining how and why this will prove a damn thing beyond the actual 24-hour sun observation itself. Nobody's putting it into the fallacy, except me. I'll do that all day long. And when you finally hear it from their lips, you heard it here first.
Meaning it won't be visible in the sky. In the globe model, it should do circles all around us 24 hours a day. And so it's going to be very...
So let's just ignore, because we haven't claimed it, what a flat Earth model will do. We haven't proposed one. I mean, you're debunking Dave Weiss. Meanwhile, let's focus on what you actually claim. On a globe model, that would be you begging the question of a globe model, but seeming to, think you're getting away with it because you're putting it in false dichotomy with what flat earthers say. So therefore it's justified that in false dichotomy I can make my assumption that we're going on the bottom of a globe. No, mate. Stacking your antipodal assumption against a flat earth model doesn't make it any less of an assumption of antipodal positioning. Because you need a false dichotomy where you make that assumption, don't you? Like you just did. We got there in the end, didn't we, Duffy? So on a globe model, so if you assume you're on a globe, no, you don't get to beg the question here. Why would you automatically assume the very thing you're trying to prove? So you've only got the if I'm already assumed to be on a globe, then I'll observe a 24-hour rotating sun. Well, then you'd need to prove the affirming the consequent begging the question P statement, wouldn't you, Duffy? You'd need to prove that you're moving antipodal on a globe rather than just suggesting that you are, to then affirm the consequent with whatever observation you may or may not see when you get to the bottom of the globe you've assumed? No, Duffy! That's called begging the question, assuming the very thing you're trying to prove. I mean, I'd then take you to the globe that you've now assumed, because you've now told us what you will be doing in this little proof-see you think you're going to have. We know you're assuming a globe model, don't we? Where did that come from, Duffy? Or did it come from a polar-eccentric angle measurement to a star? Its GP being the point that you start this concentric circle system that's flat. To get the angles, to start this system, to stretch them around a globe. For you to infer that we're standing on when we make this antipodal assumption in false dichotomy against a flat Earth model we're not claiming? No, Duffy, it was your little segue into assuming that you're on a globe. No, we don't want you to assume the very thing you're going out to prove there, Duffy. That won't do at all. And it won't slip us by when you put it in false dichotomy either. Shocking, innit? This is pathetic. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, everyone.
We finally got the claim from Duffy. He just thought he was being smart when he formulated it into a false dichotomy. Well, on the flat Earth side, they say... Well, no, Dave Weiss says. Yeah. Dave Weiss will be exposed as a charlatan if it doesn't do that, because his model fails. That's about it. Now, we moan like buggery about how much he does not represent us, because he's a true earther. Do you know for sure and without a doubt that the Earth is flat? I wouldn't call myself a flat earther. I'd call myself a true earther. It could be a really big globe, says Dave Weiss, who definitely doesn't represent me anymore. Meanwhile, he's got a straw man model that's being proposed as, what, the stereotype model that we adhere to, in false dichotomy. So that model versus an antipodal assumption from Duffy. We got there in the end, Duffy, didn't we, mate? You don't get to beg the question. Yeah, you don't get to assume the very thing you're trying to prove by saying, if I move to the bottom of a globe. Yeah, you'll need to prove you're on a globe before assuming you're on a globe to affirm the consequent. Go ahead, whoever that was.
Yeah, well, you know the plane they'll be flying on? Will the pilot of that plane be accounting for curvature?
No.
Because if not, then who cares what they say?
No, he won't. He'll be flying
the pilot can't
nose up with respect to the horizon, keeping and maintaining level flight the entire journey.
Well, the pilot, he or she can't account for curvature. It's not possible to account for curvature and fly a plane. You can't do it. Planes don't fly. If you try and account for curvature, the plane will fall out of the sky because it won't have any lift. So, stay into that.
Okay.
That's why if I was going to go on this thing, what I'd be focused on, I don't know why people like General Campanella aren't focused on this. I'd be focused on, let's see if the pilot is accounting for curvature.
Well, to answer Jaron, it's because he's not too concerned about losing the flat Earth grift that we're engaged in. He's not worried about this potentially devastating fact that if you affirm the consequent and assume antipodal positioning, as Duffy's just laid out, that could be a big problem for the flat Earth grift that we're all taking part in, just to answer your question.
Well, you know what's funny, Nathan? I just want to throw it out there. Just a couple of years ago, I wanted Wolfie to come up with the pitch data, right, from several international flights, right? And he refused. He said it's really expensive.
No.
And I said, why don't you just set up a thing then to come up with the money and get the pitch data? And everyone would chip in, and he refused to do it. How come Will Duffy is not making this whole thing way cheaper and just paying for pitch data?
They think it's too expensive for him, broke-ass pilot.
Well, he told me, it'd be 100,000 or some load of rubbish. Will Duffy could pay for pitch data, could pay the money that Wolfie needs for pitch data. That would prove or disprove. And everyone would chip in.
Hold on. Let's just rephrase that.
Chip into Will Duffy. I'd give Will Duffy money to make
No, that's good. Hey, no, just lay it out as a demand, Brian. Lay it out as a demand. They're taking this journey at great expense with a flat earther and a globe earther. Okay, we're with you, right? Let's forget the fact that you're affirming the consequent and begging the question. You're going to be taking a plane, you just explained that in your method, to Campbell. Now, Brian has pointed out that there's an abundance of data that can be acquired from the flight itself, specifically pitch data. Now, Brian's going to demand that be included in the data sets. Why would you exclude it? It's a massive journey across the terrain. Surely you'll include that. Right, Brian?
Yes. I might even make an official video about it. I probably should have done it last week, and I was thinking about it.
Absolutely, it's my idea.
Well, you could make the whole thing cheaper. There won't be any need to go there. All he needs to do is get the pitch data.
100 grand?
He won't.
He's a millionaire. Just drop in the ocean to him. He spent more on court battles, I'm sure. So we will expect this data. And if it isn't... Do you remember back in the day, Brian, where when we proactively started doing things, the demands upon us started to ramp up? Do you remember that, Brian? I remember it very distinctly. Well, what do you know? There's no financial restrictions for this millionaire. Now, Wolfie might be cheap and poor and not afford this data, but given the amount of expense that's being put on this experiment, I'd expect all the data, like all of it. I mean, this is just the start, isn't it, Brian? And we've got 6 months to start making our demands. I mean, he's out there saying that both sides are happy, that this false dichotomy is what we're happy with. Well, let's see if he actually pays attention to some of our actual concerns, because we're going to be very vocal about them, and it's going to get very, very, very expensive, Duffy. Very. Now, you could just concede immediately that you've affirm the consequent with your antipodal assumption. You've just explained it to my audience. Obviously, this slips straight past Campbell. He thinks it's proof. Meanwhile, you've ignored us long enough, Duffy. Now you're actually doing something. You're spending money that you've got because you're a millionaire. Well, we're going to expect the flight data. And if you exclude it, we will automatically discount absolutely everything you have to say on this subject. Why wouldn't he give us the flight data? He's taking a flight, right? 100 grand, drop in the ocean. We'll be back to you, Will, with other things that we absolutely expect this to include in your experiment. We'll just keep ramping up the demands. And if you don't achieve them, obviously we'll discount absolutely everything to do with this quasi-experiment that affirms the consequent and assumes antipodal position. We'll just discount it immediately. You decided to stereotype us on what we're happy with. Well, we're not happy, Duffy. We need that data. Don't we, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even need to go to Antarctica. He just needs to get the pitch data from several international flights, and both he can get that. And if he wants to set up a GoFundMe to help him along, I don't expect him to pay for all of it. But he should throw in a good chunk of the money, whatever he's throwing in towards the Antarctica thing. Everyone will chip in. There's no reason why. See, let's say no better about the pitch data. You don't have to worry about whether there'll be clouds or not. You don't have to worry about whether or not you have to beg the question with an antipodal position. You don't have to do any of that. The pitch data proves whether it is or is not a globe.
Exactly, and we shouldn't let, because we've had to do up until now, we've had to deal with Wolfie's, inability and lack of means when it comes to these things. Now, I'm not going to belittle Wolfie for being poor and cheap and not having the funds to do this. That's not, he's not a millionaire, and obviously he spent most of his money on his Coriolis detection equipment. So he's a bit strapped for cash at the moment. But he can appeal to someone who's considerably richer than him, which would be Will Duffy, who's got endless resources to spend on flat earthers to go to Antarctica, but we're going to need more. It's not enough to just observe a phenomena and call it experimenting correctly. We're going to need pitch data. We're going to need lots of it to compare it to as well, aren't we, Brian? We're not just going to need the data of your flight. We're going to need comparable flights from different directions around the world to make comparisons with it. You're going to need to provide all of it at your expense because you're the one doing it. I mean, unless you be called a charlatan fraudster who's not thorough and doesn't actually listen to what the opponents demand you provide us with. I mean, we did. We went out to the Isle of Man with tape measures when it was demanded of us. We had all sorts of demands laid on us when we were out there doing this. Well, it's good to see you out there, Duffy. We'll be expecting that data. This will be passed on to you. People will trim this clip out. It's been made really easy by YouTube to trim out clips of people's videos, so you don't have to go through the editing faff that I had to go through and still do. If you're an audience member, you can just click the trim button and send that to Will Duffy. Our expectations. To hell with the expense. We need to settle this, don't we, Duffy? No, we don't. We already know it's measured flat, and we'll be pointing that out every step of the way. We'll also be pointing out that you're affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy that you're actually attempting to endeavour to achieve has been pointed out to the flat earther that's alongside you. So I'm just going to assume that Jaren's in on the joke now, Duffy. He already knows this doesn't prove a globe, because I've explained it to him and he's understood. So your flat earth proponent's just sat there laughing at you. He may not tell you, because like us, he probably has absolutely no respect for you. But while we have absolutely no respect for you and we will convey our disgust about you, we're going to simultaneously demand expensive things from you. Because why wouldn't we? We've done it. We've been there, bought the T-shirt. Now it's your turn. We will expect lots and lots and lots of flight data to make these comparisons. Get it?
I'm going to make a dedicated video to it, Nathan. And I'm going to address it to him. And there's plenty of people that are on my channel that are ballers, that are connected, that have direct connection to him. He'll definitely get a video about the pitch data. Because that whole thing will mean you won't need to even go to Antarctica at that point. You can go if you want. I don't care. But the pitch data will prove or disprove. That is the absolute linchpin. It either is or isn't. Pitch data will show it. It's that simple. There's no grey areas. There's no begging the question.
No, don't say they don't even have to go to Antarctica. I mean, they're already going. The trip's already planned, right? Just think about how much data a flight like that could provide. loads of data, bookloads of data, right? So just, you're already going there. I don't see what the problem is. Just throwing a little pitch data. Tell us a little bit about curvature that you had to negotiate. Hey, not a problem, right?
Yeah, it's a massive problem. The maps they're using are utilizing flat Earth planes of reference. There is no declination towards a ever-expanding cavity ahead of them. They're flying with nose up, level. Flight levels. People will be familiar with the call-outs if they've watched anything to do with aeronautics. When you hear a pilot being read out his flight level. That's a flight level. It's with respect to the sea level, a flat Earth. And the maps that have been made are with respect to the timings and positionings of stars above their head when the angle measurement off a flat Earth has been taken and noted and documented. That's how our Earth is actually negotiated. That's why we're asking for it. Yeah? We're not calling it an experiment, by the way. We're not saying we need the experimental data. It's absurd to suggest it. It's a category error. We're not going to fall victim to that. We just want the flight data. Meanwhile, there's a link going by in the live stream chat to Autodidactic. So let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Share the YouTube love, give him a like. Hopefully, if he were to respond, he would do the same for us and put a link to our video. Sharing the YouTube algorithmic love where we receive none as flat earthers. Real flat earthers, not people punting True Earth or Ether or Mount Meru or ice walls. Or in this case, a fixed distance sun moving around an azimuthal equidistant globe projection that apparently represents all of us, according to Campbell.
Simple. It'll actually be easier on the flat Earth side. As soon as that sun is not visible anymore, then the experiment's over.
It's not an experiment. It's an observation of whether or not you have the phenomena of a 24-hour sun in the south. That's what you're actually doing. That's not an experiment. That's an observation. Now, when you say, it's over for the flat earthers, it doesn't do anything in the first instance, so what difference does it make to me as a flat earther? You somehow think that that's going to have some sort of prove or disprove aspect to it? No, you need a hypothesis to suggest what's being proven and disproven. I explained it earlier with an alternative and a null. Is your false dichotomy of flat earth Dave Weiss model versus my global antipodal assumption, was that your hypothesis? Now, that's called a false dichotomy. Your segue into antipodal assumptions.
They'll take a video of the glober that's there, and they'll say, hey, they'll ask him, is the sun visible right now? And if he lies and says yes, they'll say, okay, great, point to it, and he won't be able to. And if he...
This is meaningless. One man's opinion of whether or not something's factually done that you claim it does as a phenomena that you're yet to observe, that there's been fakery and forgery about in the south and easy to acquire information about in the north. The only thing that distinguishes the two is if you assume antipodal positioning when you stack the two models up in false dichotomy, one of which included your antipodal assumption when you said, if we're on a globe model.
He says no, and he's telling the truth. We have a setting sun, and the globe model is falsified.
You don't falsify models. You vary and manipulate variables to validate or invalidate a hypothesis. That's what an experiment is. You just don't know what science is. Yeah, hence you're not answering me when I asked you for your independent and dependent variable. That would be your observed phenomena and supposition of causal influencer. You didn't have that for me, Duffy. I've got something for you, though. Quite expensive data that'll need to be acquired, given that you're going to be journeying. And when you do, you'll be making an antipodal assumption. So we're going to need that antipodal assumption justifying in some way, and there's a very convenient way in the form of the flight data for the plane that will have flight levels to adhere to. The flight levels being described with their elevation above sea level. So we're going to need quite a lot of flat Earth prerequisites to be violated in that data for your antipodal assumption to square any sort of scrutiny. I like making demands of globers going out doing experiments. Yeah? Because as long as he maintains that it is an experiment, then we're absolutely justified in requiring the consensus view of what science is? Masses of data. Oh, well, definitely need it from the flight then. There's no doubt about it in my mind. It doesn't matter how expensive it is. Hang the expense, right? Smash the super chat, by the way. I'm really poor. Like Wolfie.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be definitely adding this into the video. Like, Wolfie can get all this data. Wolfie is a professional super pilot.
No, he can't afford
he
it.
can get all this stuff.
No, he can't afford it.
But Will Duffy can afford it, and Wolfie can get it. So between Will Duffy and Wolfie, right? And I don't mind. I can't. He should. I'm okay with him setting up a GoFundMe or one of these, or Give Send Go, and because it can be pretty. It's according to Wolfie, it's very expensive. So yeah, I'm sure everyone on both sides would chip in.
Oh, well, absolutely. I'll be the first. When Wolfie
Antarctic.
runs his GoFundMe, because he needs everyone to chip in a few quid, obviously being short and not being able to afford this data, what with it being so expensive beyond his means and that, like he did for me. He sent me a tenner. I'll be the first to send you a tenner, Wolfie, to help you out in your time of need when you need supporting because you can't afford this data because it's beyond your means. I mean, you could just go and ask Duffy, who's considerably richer than you, more successful than you, and has more money than you. I mean, we'll be demanding of it anyway. And if you want to collab, you know what, with these requirements being laid down on you, as opposed to the acceptance that the affirming the consequent fallacy and false dichotomy are what we actually accept, we don't, and we're making it explicitly clear. But if you need the extension of means, in spite of me being just above the poverty line, I'll still chuck you a tenner. Okay, Wolfie, I'll help you, mate. Thanks for your tenner. I'll repay the favour. No worries. I'll be the first one there.
You won't have to, because I'm talking about a Give Send Go set up to help Will Duffy himself. Because I know he's a wealthy guy, but that, according to Wolfie, the pitch data may be expensive. So if we were to get that from several flights, the expense could add up. But Will Duffy could definitely throw in a good chunk of the money, and we could definitely get some pitch data and prove or disprove. Then there won't be any worry. You won't need to beg the question or go to Antarctica or worry about whether clouds will get in the way. There won't be any of that.
Exactly.
And,
we're saving him money, aren't we, Brian? We're saving him money, basically, aren't we?
We're going to save him money, exactly, and he's going to get the answer he wants.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we're going to need that data there, Duffy. I know it's expensive and, Wolfie can't afford it. We're offered to help him. But you can, right? And it's expected now. The audience is going to let you know. Hopefully, if you will trim a clip from this live stream and, make it absolutely abundantly clear what we've demanded of you. Obviously, lest you be a scumbag, we comported with all the demands back in the day. You can go and check. They're all publicised. Daily live shows with us doing it at the behest of our opponents. Well, it's nice that the tables have turned and we can start making some very expensive demands of you.
And
will that satisfy people, though? Because I'm already seeing people.
Sorry, Brian, you rub it in a bit more. It's fun.
Yeah, I have a second demand. And it's actually a demand to know why Jerome Campanella was so slow to come up with this exact plan. Why is he not asking for the pitch data? He's fully aware of what pitch data would entail, of the implications of it. How come he's just saying, oh, it's probably going to be a globe if we see it? Why don't you just look for the pitch data of the plane, Jerome? Why aren't you asking for these things? It's suspect.
Well, in the pre-show, I was told off for being harsh to Jaron because he's on our side, and Jardo agreed with him, but also said that, Jaron's suffering attacks from every single side, so he's going into defense mode because everyone's calling him out about this and they're all deserting him. So in one way, while I lashed out initially and then removed all those Skype comments that he couldn't read to be disappearing into the ether, I do have to extend a little bit of empathy. I can understand how he feels, having been in the same position when Bob did that to me. So, I can empathise when suddenly everyone's attacking you on all sides, like Jaron's suffering at the minute. You kind of want to shout.
No way! No. Yours was righteous.
Yeah,
what is he getting attacked for? Stupidity.
No, he deserves every bit of it. That's the difference. You didn't deserve any of it. He deserved every bit of it. He's deserving of every bit of it, and more, if I can load it upon him.
You tried to educate them.
I can hear chocolate. I can hear Chocolate's mic open.
Okay.
Is it Chocolate's mic that was open?
Yeah, I was sure. I don't know what the latest with Jaron is. What's his position? What's his position on this? Like, what am I missing?
Okay, his position is he recognises the devastating danger that might befall Flat Earth based on this quasi-experiment. Now, let's ignore the fact that he has ostracised me personally for trying to explain what science is, based on the fact that he decries scientism. Nevertheless, he's going down for this experiment because he recognises the danger to Flat Earth. Now, based on that danger to Flat Earth, he perceives us criticising him as us worried about our flat earth grift being threatened. So he's righteous because he's recognised the danger and wants to go and see for himself and is prepared to be open-minded and go back on the globe and all that good stuff. Us not being open-minded and recognising the danger and wanting to, in his words, protect our flat earth grift makes us grifters and him the righteous, treading forth into the affirming the consequent that he's obviously now been made aware of by me subsequently since agreeing to do it, because I've let him know and he's affirmed that he understands the fallacies now. So maybe he's now a double agent, laughing all the way down to Antarctica, and when he gets there, he might say, so how do we prove that we're now on the bottom of a ball exactly? Because you're assuming that, are you? Because the moment he says that, he's won before anything happens. He can do it the whole way down if he wanted to really rub it in. Get to the airport. Hi, how you doing? So just out of interest, how are we going to prove that we're moving antipodal from our original position? I mean, we're here now, and we're going to use maps that have been derived from angle measurements off a plane. At what point do we actually confirm that we're on a ball? Because you're assuming it at this stage. Can we just not beg the question and have some proof of it offered? Or am I just going to be pointing out the entire way down that we're assuming antipodal positioning, therefore not proving a damn thing? Because we can do that. It's just Jaron could be laughing at him the entire way down. I hope he is, given that he now understands the fallacy that's being employed. Which he does. Okay, he's confirmed to me he does.
Did he state that he's worried about the position flat Earth could be if this is found? Did he state that expressly?
Yes.
Yes.
So, okay, so by saying that he's obviously has no conviction in this, he's just stating something that hasn't been found as yet. If that's possible to be found, that could debunk his entire, well, whatever it is that he's doing. Okay, but now he's putting that on us as though we're scared because we might have to give up our flat earth rift, in quotes, as opposed to us when every day we're saying here it's measured flat. So whatever the hell the light in the sky is doing at whatever location does not matter to how the earth is measured. But okay, we're the ones who are scared? Do I have that all right?
Yeah, basically.
Is this serious, man?
Yes, this is serious. That's what he's basically said. A level Earth observer trimmed out a section. I couldn't go through the entire video to find it, so I just reacted to what level Earth observer played, and that was the sentiment he gave off. I recognise this could be a big problem, says Jaron. Therefore, the people who are attacking me on it, apparently we're one of them. I didn't know necessarily we'd done an overt job of attacking Jaron beyond pointing out the fallacy, which is what we're doing now. You know, in that respect, we're still not attacking Jaron. We're saying there's a fallacy being used. Fortunately, I can now overtly declare that he knows damn well what that fallacy is. I've explained it to him. In spite of him constantly calling me a grifter, the greater good must prevail when we already know the danger that these people can put themselves in, with Netflix as an example. The same fallacy being fell victim to in that instance too. It's just that time I explained it to Bob after the fact rather than before. Well, now I've explained it to Jaron before the fact. He knows damn well it's an affirming the consequent fallacy. I've explained it to him. Me, the grifter. He thanked me for it. And then called me a grifter.
I think he was thanking you sarcastically, Nathan. I think
Regardless,
the whole thing was sarcastic.
Don't care. My conscience is clear. When someone attacks me in 6 months when I said I told you so, I've already explained how the fallacy works. The fact that you're now falling victim to the fallacy when I've already explained it overtly means that my conscience is clear. I couldn't have done anything more to try and mitigate for this garbage disaster that now befalls us in the Antarctic summer. Well, no, it won't be befalling us at all if it befalls a whole group of people that suddenly detach themselves from the subject because, oh my God, they've seen a 24-hour sun. Therefore, we are definitely assumed to be on the bottom of a ball. They assumed it when they went down there, is what I would say. Us so far, thank you very much for the super chat. It says, is Captain Cook's circumnavigation around Antarctica data legit? He logged 63 miles in a 3-year expedition. What evidence could this be for, if any? I don't know, I haven't validated it. That's the point. What we have in terms of the maps and models and ground positions of locations of the stars at given times is the data that we actually utilise and create maps with. In terms of a anecdotal account from Captain Cook, I'm no more likely to accept that than I am accepting of Admiral Byrd's description on the chronologoscope or whatever it's called, where he describes more land in Antarctica. One man in his account as a paid government official isn't much value to me when there's a massive deception specifically about the land. Now, Captain Cook's narrative is actually quite useful for the Feast of Nonsense, so far. That is to say, it lends credence to a cherry-picking, confirmation bias-seeking flat earther who wants to tell you there's a bleeding ice wall. Why? Because of one government official that says there is. Here's his account. Okay. So, space bad, NASA bad, government bad, hidden hand, other than when it affirms my bias of an ice wall, which is nonsense and not confirmed. Hope that answers your question. Thank you very much for the super chat. Did you all go and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me? I recently put a link to Autodidact's channel, so as I've done a few calls to action, I'll do another one right now. Please let Autodidact know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me by clicking on the link, leaving him a nice polite comment, giving him a thumbs up, helping him in the YouTube algorithm. He does seem to be giving off a bit of a flat earther vibe, which does tend to suggest that he'll be suppressed in the YouTube algorithm were he to cover this subject matter. It might not be his main focus of expertise from my experience, limited though it is. But I would hope to help him in the YouTube algorithm in some small way if we can do. The hope being, selfishly, that he would do the same for us if he was to respond. Same as any other YouTuber that we cover. So please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a nice polite comment and a thumbs up on the autodidactic video that we are covering, which is going to Antarctica to prove flat Earth. That's the name of the video. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
People in the comments saying, you know, it doesn't matter, it's flat. So, I mean, people, let us know right now. Can you give us a comment if you think that would change your mind if you're a flat earther? If you were to have Campbell come back and say, I've seen the 24-hour sun, would you believe that?
Yeah, those are two different, that's a compound question. Is Earth flat? Would you believe there's a 24-hour sun if you saw it? Okay, let's answer those. Yes, I'd believe there's a 24-hour sun if I saw it. I've seen one. I just didn't assume I was on the bottom of a ball when I saw it. I mean, I could say this northern sun proves they were antipodal from the south. I could, but there's more northerners, isn't there? So let's be honest, people are going to be more receptive to assuming antipodal positioning and a begging the question fallacy when they travel to the south. Especially if there's some ambiguity about whether or not something in the sky does something. That you can then say proving it does do it, or doesn't. Proves a false dichotomy, where I subtly slip in and affirming the consequent fallacy, and an antipodal assumption by begging the question of antipodal positioning on a globe, stacked up in false dichotomy against Dave Weiss's model. Suddenly the representation for all flat earthers.
Be very interesting to find out.
Yeah, and again, you know, I do need to give credit where credit is due, and I came up with this idea from flat earthers. So the first person I heard talk about it was Dave Weiss, Flat Earth Dave. He flat out said, if there's a 20...
Boom. It's not us. So you're debunking Dave, as I correctly identified. You hear that? Is anybody listening? Is anybody paying attention? Dave is doing us harm. This entire thing is based on Dave and Dave's model alone. That's what it's based on.
But Dave is not a flat earther, so he just said he didn't. He obviously is confused. Dave's a true earther. Nothing to do with me. I'm a flat earther.
Yeah. He's out there calling himself Flat Earth Dave and putting us in positions where models that might fail will prop up a straw man false dichotomy with a begging the question antipodal globe in it. Yeah, this is what we're left in. People say, why are you attacking your own side? Because they put us in positions like this.
24-hour sun, then the flat Earth model is not true. And then if you guys remember, there was an in-person debate in Nashville in December between Dean Odell, who's a flat Earth pastor, and Greg Locke, who's a globe pastor. And that debate, I was there in person, and it turned into a dumpster fire. But toward the beginning of that debate, Dean Odell said from stage, he said to Greg Locke, he's like, Greg, if we want to settle this debate, come with me to Antarctica for a week. And if the sun sets, we live on a flat Earth. But if it does circles above our head, we live on a ball. And so this is a very valid experiment. And there has been a little bit of backpedaling, but just so people can understand, on the flat Earth model, I don't know of a flat Earth model that can account for a 24-hour sun in the south in Antarctica. And so again, Antarctica.
Who cares? I mean, all you're doing now is justifying your false dichotomy, which is irrelevant. Your side of this positive claim is that you move antipodal. That's your claim. Who cares what you strap onto it in false dichotomy as a straw man in this instance? Dave's model fails. Say it like it is. You didn't. You made it clear that Dave gave you the idea and then started to reassert that as being a flat earth position immediately afterwards, much to my disdain.
Is this ice wall essentially that encompasses all of the
Where'd you get that from? Dave also? Shocking.
continents on the Earth, and it holds in all of the water on the Earth.
Yeah, you could go beyond it and have a nice hot summer holiday, according to Dave Weiss. Yeah, he was telling Roseanne all about it, the ice wall. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we, the flat earthers, not true earthers, not it could be a bigger ball Dave, we were disgusted by that.
So the difference is between the globe model and the flat earth model.
Sorry, Dave's model. The difference between your antipodal assumption stacked up in false dichotomy with Dave's model.
When it comes to Antarctica, are very different.
Dave's model is different to your antipodal assumption. Yeah, you're going to need to prove your antipodal assumption rather than beg the question of it and put it into a form of logical fallacy known as affirming the consequent, because I'll just be pointing that out for every single day that passes between now and when you go down there to see if there's a phenomena to observe or not.
On the globe model, it's small.
There it is. On the globe model, when I assume antipodal positioning... Hey, brush past that pretty quick. So on the globe model, you're already on a globe. That's called begging the question. On a globe model is you've already decided the outcome, haven't you?
Smaller and it's an island. On the flat earth model, it's way bigger and it's holding.
But on Dave's model, actually based on an azimuthal equidistant globe projection, Dave's model, stop saying flat earthers model. He might call himself Flat Earth Dave, but you've identified whose crap model this is. It's Dave's. You're a fighting man, right? You want to fight against this model that Dave made. Don't ascribe it to me.
Holding in everything. And so you can't, on the flat earth model, you can't travel.
On Dave's model? You seem to constantly be reasserting that this is my model. It's not.
South. And when the sun is doing its biggest circuit over the Tropic of Capricorn, where you are on that ice wall, you can't have a sun going like this around you. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the picture of the globe in my head and how it works, like how it goes from
it's behind him
24 hours in Antarctica, and then obviously the same in the north. We're on a tilt, right? They say 23.4 degrees. Is that right?
With respect to an axis that needs a horizontal plane to describe it, that's a flat earth proof there, Campbell. Obviously not up to date with the flat earth debate if you're describing axes and their tilt that needs a description to come from a flat earth plane, mathematically speaking. Obviously, it's a conceptual description, it's mathematical. You're describing an axis that needs a flat plane.
Yep.
But the tilt doesn't. I suppose the tilt changes, does it? As okay, I think. Okay, so it's display.
Right. You're
What the hell?
Yeah, when the north is tilted toward the sun, that's
right. When the north is tilted towards the sun, that would require you measured. Is it the analemma, Brian? Oh, maybe it's buggered off. That would require you measure the sun with respect to a flat plane to describe its positional information. You then take that information and convert it with a polaricentric system that gives you a radial value into a spherical projection from the equatorial plane, extending out to the celestial plane with a globe in the middle and you in the middle of that. That's how you get that description, to convert it into an orbital motion by way of Kepler, to then give an axis described from a flat plane pointing in a direction from the projected globe surface. Yet you'll need a flat plane to start this process to infer Kepler's orbital motion, to describe you on that projected plane you've reified pointing in a direction towards the sun, in that sun-centric system. This all starts with flat Earth measurements.
That's when you have the 24-hour sun in the north, which is right now, if you're far enough north. And that's on both models. You have a 24-hour sun.
Oh, I see why. So you're saying that by having a 24-hour sun in the north, it's fine because on Dave's model, that's all cushy? Well, why couldn't you just assume antipodal positioning without doing a damn thing except observing that sun? Just set it in false dichotomy. If we observe a 24-hour sun in the globe, then we are positioned antipodally from the south when we observe that in the north. Doesn't seem to have the same impact, does it? Yeah, but for the fact that you've stacked it up in false dichotomy with Dave's model, this would be completely ineffective, wouldn't it? But he needs to stack it up in false dichotomy with Dave's model so you don't notice his antipodal assumption. That's the only reason it's done this way. Notice how we can pick it apart at every single level of the discussion and debate. It's not, we're measuring Earth flat. That's what 10 years of experience in this discussion will do for you.
But then when the south is tilted toward the sun, that's when you get
Right, when it's tilted towards the sun in the opposite direction on an antipodal projected globe from the flat plane of the south that we measure all the angles to the stars with. Now, you'd still need to be on a flat plane describing angle measurements to stars in the south, on a plane just upside down in your imagination. No, you're still on a flat plane with the sky above us, even when we describe the south. I mean, we can sandwich them together in the celestial sphere, but you'll never have that view. Ever. You can only experience north or south with a hemispherical view basing the angles that you will see of the stars with respect to a flat plane you're measuring them from. Yeah, you're not justifying antipodal positioning when you describe an extraction from those measurements by way of Kepler. All it does is it affirms your religious doctrine that you're now blarting out in justification. Well, if we're tilted towards the sun, you mean if Kepler's orbital motion's true? Well, if Kepler's orbital motion's true, we'll trust the flat plane measurements he used, won't we, Duffy?
You get the 24-hour sun in the south. So on the globe model, you should have 2 different 24-hour suns at different times of year. And then here's the key.
Here's the key. I just assumed that I will be antipodal in the south. There's the key. But here comes my big hand movements to gesture away like a magician with a card up his sleeve. The point is you've just assumed antipodal positioning.
Going in opposite directions. So on the globe model in the north, the 24-hour sun goes left to right. And if there is a 24-hour sun in the south, it goes right to left.
What? Is he having me on?
I'm sorry. Is this supposed to be a globe claim, or is he getting this like directly from Dave? And all the flat earthers were saying that if this 24-hour sun doesn't exist in Antarctica, then it's flat. Because obviously, they would have a hard time claiming it, being that he's literally trying to go now to go get the evidence of that. So I don't think that's something that they would claim too tough. But now he's going off because flat earthers say it doesn't exist, and if it did, then it'd be flat, and that's why he's doing this?
No, he's doing it because it doesn't work on Dave's model. He then, after ascribing it by name to Dave, says that that's what flat Earth is. And if it fails on a flat Earth because of these reasons, my version in false dichotomy with my antipodal assumption must be true. That's his position.
And then
That's
again,
crap.
You say that's crap? It is crap.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crap. It's just a fallacious bit of logic that's being employed by this guy at great expense. Well, more for you.
if the flat Earth model is accurate, there will be no.
If Dave's model is accurate, no, it isn't. He doesn't know how far the sun is. He's got him moving around in circles above a globe projection. But if that model's correct, no, it isn't. Plenty of opposers to that crap with the azimuthal equidistant projection. Plenty of people don't like it that are flat earthers. I've had many, many, many people opposing it.
No 24-hour sun at all in Antarctica.
Yeah, because obviously the sun always rises in the east, so that would be left to right up top, right to left.
So what, a relative direction versus an eastward direction? So does left or right not change when you turn around, buddy?
To the bottom.
It's not ascribable to left and right until you said on the bottom. Let's just hear that again, because there's the guy, hook, line, and sinker, suckered in to the antipodal assumption, isn't it? There's where it actually happened. Where's my mouse gone? There it is. Let's do a J.
Be no 24-hour sun at all in Antarctica.
Yeah, because obviously the sun always rises in the east, so that would be left to right up top, right to left at the bottom.
So
No,
at the
that's
top and
completely
at the
wrong.
just for a second, you can get to his stupidity in terms of the relative directions of left and right. My God. Anyway, you can get to that in a minute. I know you want to get your teeth into it, but there's the antipodal assumption. On the top of a globe. Sorry, why are you already on the top of a globe? So you've already decided you're on a globe then? So, but for the fact that you've automatically assumed that you're on a globe, the statement that a 24-hour sun's going to happen affirms the consequent. It's an affirmation of your statement that if you assume you're on a globe and at the top we will have X and at the bottom, yeah, you'd need to prove that though, wouldn't you? Yeah, assuming it and then going down and observing something doesn't prove it. It affirms the consequent. Don't know how many times I say it till I'm blue in the face. But now Brian's going to rip you a new one in terms of your comprehension of absolute directions versus relative directions. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, he's completely wrong. If you're looking north or south of the equator, then all the celestials are moving from your right to your left. If you're looking south, north, or south of the equator, then all the celestials are moving from your left to your right. They're still going east to west. It's like, it's so stupid that these people still can't get this 9 years later.
No, that's never right. If I'm watching a roundabout with cars going around it, and I watch them come from my right and go to my left, and then I cross the road onto the roundabout and turn around, I mean, they're going the other direction, Brian, aren't they?
I mean, it makes me curious as though, like the guy just said, the sun always rises in the east. Okay. So how would your compadres feel who want to say that because we move antipodally to the other side of the ball, they would appear to go the other way? The sun would appear to rise in the west? Like that would be a problem.
How are you going to describe west if you haven't got a flat plane to describe it with respect to?
You don't.
No, you don't. It's almost like some of the fundamental principles that rely on Earth being flat are being employed before the fact to affirm the consequent and beg the question of antipodal positioning after the fact when stacking it up against Dave Weiss's model. I mean, it's almost like that was a 12-second summary of exactly what's going on here.
It's the same theory behind
the longest time.
The stars rotate. Like, if you look, I think north is anti-clockwise, whereas if you go to where you are, you see the stars rotate clockwise.
Like, no, let's not do it again. He's done the same thing. It's just not.
He just doesn't understand.
Yeah, he doesn't understand. Let's just move past it. We've done it once.
Thank you, Angel.
I would believe Campbell if he told me he saw the sun.
Good response, Campbell. yeah, thank you. Yeah, that would be what I would have said too if I didn't want to embarrass him.
Oh, there you go. So Campbell is a voice. I think you should take him because this is what we need to talk about. How much does it cost? Because you've invited so many people. You've invited, how many was it? 48.
Yeah, so I invited 24 flat earthers and 24 globe earthers, and I didn't do a good job of explaining why.
You still haven't, mate. I mean, you dropped it in with the false dichotomy, but you still haven't explained it to these guys. Because when Campbell tried to clarify what was being proven, he went, prove it? The 24-hour sun, which is all you'd do if you observed it. That's all you'd be proving. Right, I'm going to do a quick shout out. So later on this evening, we are having a Quantum Eraser live stream. So be here or be sphere on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel for QE Live open discussion. So you can join if you're a member of the public and express your views on this very subject. So QE will be covering this, which is the Will Duffy final experiment, which it isn't. So that's what QE is covering today live. I'm sure everyone's going to be delighted that it's not Witsit. You came under some fire earlier before you got here, QE, for spending too long on Witsit. I did try and warn you.
He's right to spend that length of time.
It's got a mixed bag of reviews. I'm not saying that's the overarching opinion. I'm just saying one person said it and I warned him. I haven't had breakfast. All right, QE, I'll come back to you later after we round out and go into the after show then.
Yeah, I got it. Oh no.
Yes, indeed. Well, anyway, be here or be sphere for QE Live, which is later on this evening. Just get his thumbnail up later. There we go. So, yeah, check it out. It'll be at 7 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Central Standard. So, be here or be sphere on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. Did you like my plug?
Excellent plug. Aren't they embarrassed, these people that are going to this stupid non-experiment?
No. Like I moaned about throughout this show, I can be what's the word? Extradited? Is that the correct word? No. Forgot the word. What's it called where they ban you? Banished. Banished. That's the word. I can be banished for saying that science proves things. But our opponents, they'll jump on a boat with them and go and do an experiment that isn't really an experiment. So, you know, the standards here are outrageous, really. But there we go. I'm a tolerant man.
Well, you're just scared that it's going to prove a sphere.
Yeah, it's going to really affect my grift. So all of you who've been giving me money to talk about Flat Earth, apparently you are supporting me in my grift of Flat Earth. When I say Earth is measured flat, no. It's not like I can just demonstrate an elevation angle and how maps were made. No, that's a grift, right? Really, I should be terrified about how Earth might be proven to be a sphere if I travel antipodal by assumption and observe a phenomena and call it an experiment. I should be terrified of that. The fact that I'm not is me being worried about my flat Earth grift being threatened. Yeah, okay.
Well, flat Earth grift, when the pitch data that we're requiring now, that we're asking Will Duffy to get, then that would prove or disprove the situation. So how would you be worried about your grift if you're asking for for him to produce, you're giving him a suggestion of something he can acquire that will be absolute proof? How is that a grift? That wouldn't be a grift.
No. Well, we're going to be making more and more demands, Brian. I mean, obviously, they're out there proactively doing this stuff, and they want to satisfy all of their detractors, just like we did back in the day, back in 2017, when we were out of the Isle of Man. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, gifted memberships, liked, commented, shared, subscribed. Let Autodidactic know that at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and all that good stuff. Be sure to trim out a clip and let Will Duffy know that he's affirming the consequent. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.